you expect something. You know what I mean? So, don't make me go mail Karen. All right.
We're live on Facebook.
We're live on Facebook. Okay. What are we not live on? You can't chat? What?
We can't chat.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we can go live on everything.
Okay, good. Well, then my apologies, Mr. Hilario, because I was not pleased with that. All right. Now, back to, there was something else I said I wanted to talk about. Did you guys see Young Washington by chance over the weekend?
No.
Okay, again, great show. You got to go see it. It's definitely good. So let's see. And then, let's see. It's talked to Sophie Cunningham, and we've talked to Agenda 47. We're not going to probably get to today. But it is a fantastic movie. It talks about Washington's early failure as a British colonial officer in the militia. You know, he built a fort in a very bad location to build a fort, and his men were telling him that. And, you know, Rox, it did actually make me think of how many good officers just kind of dig their feet in when their enlisted folks are telling them this is a really bad idea. Have you run into that a lot? Because I actually think I was pretty good about that at realizing I was wrong.
Sometimes it really depended, especially on whether it was deployments versus like the shop of people that you know. Sometimes deployments, you get another mixed bag of people. You don't know how they work and operate right away. Or reservist officers that went active and maybe they don't have a lot of experience, but they have the ranks because, you know, reserves work different than active duty. And they'd be like, no, you're wrong. This is what my notebook says. And this is the plan we're going to follow. And we're like, sir, that's just not how this works sometimes. So, like, listen to your senior leaders, your experience. Sometimes, I mean, the rank is there, but that's not necessarily the experience or the reality of situations. And yeah, we get things changed, especially when things don't work or go wrong. That takes time, especially on all branches of the military. It takes about 8 years to get any kind of idea ran.
Yep.
So, but there are a few, and that's why there's you know, regulations to kind of cut that sometimes. Of like for EOD, we are in charge of the scene, and we can actually like command the officers in a way. You still respectfully do it, and you have your, you know, commander to have your back, but like we're in charge of making certain decisions there.
Yeah, I mean, that always makes more sense is to have the tactical on-scene command because, you know, when I was overhead, depending on the effort, there were times where I was the commander and then technically, because I was there, they assume my situational awareness is better than the general back at the KAOC, which may or may not be true, given how many Reapers and other things that we've got and other political considerations at play. So I do get it. But, you know, today I was watching.
Is it just me or did I lose Larry?
Can you guys not hear me?
I did not lose Larry.
All right. So, Dr. A, I saw your hand up. Go ahead, ma'am.
I was just going to say, sir, I'm not military, but my son was a nuclear officer on a submarine, and he said the only thing he appreciated is when they were underway, he was allowed to question orders when it came to the operations of the boat, sir.
You can always question orders, but you got to do it in the right way, i.e. in private. You know, I went into my commander one time and said, you just drove one of the best pilots in the unit out because of a stupid decision where if you just waited and let me talk to him, you know, offline, I could have got them from butting heads. But, you know, long story short, eventually we got the pilot back in. The commander never admitted he made a mistake, but he let the guy back in the unit, and then that guy eventually became, I believe, a wing commander. I'm certain that he was a wing commander. I don't know if he became if he became a full general. All right, so the question of the day, and I'll go over the rules real quick, is, don't talk over each other. If you talk too long, we'll ding you, and don't use profanity. Is what song do you hate the most? And, you know, there's a whole lot of them that I'm right out on right now, and I don't know why, but what comes to mind when I first say that is two songs. All right, the first one is that What Does the Fox Say nonsense that was popular, but I think the one that's still higher on my hate list because of how much it was played is either Sister Christian, which is what I had initially thought of, or Starship, We Built This City. Those two songs were both just played to death. So they're in my top three on the old hate list. What about you, Dr. A? And then I'll bring you back up, Rox.
Honestly, Larry, I love music so much. I have a hard time like coming up with the one that I hate or that I dislike.
Okay, so you really love Barbie Girl, right?
I didn't mind it, and I used to laugh hysterically because my son, who was active duty military at the time, did a video memeing it, so it was pretty funny. So that makes me think of my son, which I like. But there's some of these preschool
stop, pause for just a second. I'm a Barbie Girl makes you think of your son?
Oh, only because he did some silly little meme video thing about it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. He was in the Navy.
My boys are
I'm
6
just
feet
saying
and
he's
6 feet
suspect.
4, so they're very masculine. When they were teasing and mocking that, it was funny.
All right. Yeah, I can kind of see that. All right, Rox, what about you? What's your most hated song? Rox? Oh, no. I'm not seeing her mic come off.
Can you hear Larry? She hears you, but she can't come off mic.
Okay, Rox, recycle, and we'll go there again. All
Rox,
right.
If you can hear me, update your app. I had to do it yesterday. I was having weird things going on.
All right, Data Dig, what about you? What is your most hated song?
I don't have the most hated song. I can think of like Dr. Angela, I just can't think of one. But I will say that every time I hear Willie Nelson songs, especially his Christmas songs, I grew up having to listen to Christmas songs in a Jeep. We go on road trips and he play Willie Nelson all the time. So if I hear Willie Nelson, I'm just like, oh no, not Willie.
Yep, I can see that. There was a similar thing, although I kind of, now I enjoy the music, but my dad was huge into Johnny Cash. And when I was a younger guy, I could not stand Johnny Cash, and now I absolutely love his music. So who knows if that was a function of age. Rox, I just sent you an invite back up. All right, everybody, it is high noon Eastern Standard Time. This is The Reckoning, 6 July 2026, show number 333, and 1 hour of unfiltered political truth starts now. Now, Abraham Lincoln said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. Well, I believe that we cannot endure permanently as a nation half delusional and half living in the real world. The left is currently fantasizing, thinking that they can win a civil war against the right. Now, the fallacy of that, I'm not going to debate at this time, but we have over 1 trillion rounds and you have dildos and bongs. I'm pretty sure we're going to win. I don't think anyone will, though, actually win a civil war if it comes to that because of how divided we are. It won't be anything like the 1860s. Even in Texas, where we have a pretty solid Republican majority, there is 40% of our public that believes in the Communist Party. And they infest most of the leadership positions in our major cities. So this war would be beyond chaotic. So here's kind of a breakdown of a couple of potential scenarios. First, the left likes to fantasize that we're all like Hitler and we're going to round them up and persecute them based off their democratic affiliation the same way Hitler did to political undesirables. Well, okay, that's just logistically impossible. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal, even in breakdown scenarios. There would be massive resistance, guerrilla activity, legal pushback where institutions still functioned, and likely federal intervention. Now, Texas Democrats also include elected officials, judges, business owners, teachers, doctors, police, and military members, many with deep local ties. Now, I think that one is the stupidest one. It's just not possible. This one is a little bit more likely, and that is urban versus rural dynamics. Okay, we've got blue leading cities that could face supply shortages, unrest, sieges if supply lines break or are cut, power is cut, and rural areas, which tend to be more Republican leaning, might see different pressures. All right. However, A lot of people that live in rural areas have relatives living in the cities, relatives that are Democrats. Even in my own family, I've got a couple of communists. All right. Individual outcomes, I think, would vary wildly across the different 50 states. And, if you remember, there is the Trump heartland that was elected, and then there was the Clinton archipelago of blue cities. And so I think of it more in those terms. All right. Most people, I do believe, would actually stay neutral. Historically, Americans don't fight until they're punched in the nose. All right, they're going to try and protect their family. They're going to try and survive. Again, only 3% of Americans engaged in the American Revolution. Now, those actively involved in politics, protest, or armed groups on any side would definitely face higher risks, with the risk of arrest being more likely than any combat or retaliation. Now, there are also mixed families and communities that would fracture. I can see, given J6 and how fractured that, made some of my family relationships with me, I'm telling you, it would be far worse in an actual, blood on blood situation. Economic collapse, though, would hit everyone. Job losses, food, fuel shortages, infrastructure failures, and refugee movements in and out of conflict zones. Now, where would the military side? We all saw that clown, that Blue Falcon, which is a relatively new Air Force term because I didn't know it until I had to look it up. A Blue Falcon is somebody that tries to promote themselves by making you look bad. And so that major, who was not wearing any badge that indicated he'd been in any combat arm, so I'm going to call him a REMF, R-E-M-F, Romeo Echo Mike Foxtrot. All right, and we'll just let you find out what that really means. But he was up there bad-mouthing Trump. That is a minority. I would say that probably 70% of all officers, and Rox, how many percent of enlisted do you think are Democrats versus Republican?
Maybe like 30-40%, depending on your area.
Yeah, I think so as well. So I think you're seeing, the vast majority of military officers are conservative. The vast majority of NCOs are conservative. And I think, the younger members of the military get more conservative as they move up in rank. So I don't see the military really getting involved initially. All right, because we swore an oath to a constitution. I think you would see targeted assassinations and then targeted hits. And, that would be a breakdown that they might step in as the president uses the Insurrection Act to try and restore order. I don't think any of us can really predict what this would look like. The movie Civil War that came out a few years ago, there's a great line in it where someone asks somebody, they say, well, we're Americans. And they're like, well, what kind of Americans? And I think it would be like that. Now, the big thing here is it would result in widespread violence, obviously, economic ruin, yep, always happens in war, and there would be a humanitarian crisis that would affect everyone of all backgrounds. All right, historically, civil wars displace civilians the most. Civilians suffer the most due to food shortages, disease, and the loss of the rule of law. Now, international intervention, I don't think so. Although, if they did come in, that might be the one thing that would unite us again. So, in practice, any serious internal conflict would look more like sporadic violence, localized unrest, economic depression, and political repression attempts, rather than a clean 1860-style war with battle lines. Party affiliation would be one factor among many. Ideology, location, personal networks, race, ethnicity might come into play in some areas. Economic interest. The single best outcome is that this never happens. Civil war rhetoric on any side is dangerous because it normalizes the idea and it lowers the threshold for real, actual violence. We already see the left engaging in real violence at any conservative protest, except when it comes to Patriot Front. Gee, I wonder why. Now, here is the bottom line. Have enough food and ammunition to protect yourself for months. Have a bug-out plan if you live in a city to a place in the country far away from rampaging communists. And a no cell phone comm plan as well as a rejoin plan with your family. Could the younger generation actually find something without the GPS on their phone? I mean, I know how to read a map. Now, prior to any civil disturbance escalating by water or have the tools needed to convert lakes and rivers into potable water. And most of all, be proficient with your wireless hole punch so that you can defend yourself, because the left is violent and they will try and kill you. All right, everybody, that was the rant for the day. So I want to talk today about the loony left. I know there's a lot to discuss about other things, but I thought I'd start with a former staffer, all right, for Pocahontas, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Now, she was recently in Iran, and she said, and let me quote, "The only real justice for Imam Khomeini and for all the martyrs will be the total and complete dismantling of the U.S. and Israel. Anything else is a capitulation." Now, her name is Kella Walsh, all right, and she was an organizer for Democratic Senator Ed Markey, and then she became a staffer for Senator Warren. She had the perfect political profile on the left. She was earnest, idealistic, and a model Gen Z Democrat. All right, she called for the United States to be abolished as justice for Khomeini, and she attended his funeral in Iran. Now, when we get to the point where we can actually insert video, I would play it for you right now. But she is actually on there saying death to America. All right, the problem is that, like her, many of her peers on the left, their idealism has mutated into something much darker. And something that I believe Democrats should actually be concerned about as the socialist wing and the Islamist wing inside their party gains power. All right. She, in my opinion, was still an American and should have been able to come back because she has freedom of speech right up until the time she said those infamous words, "death to America." All right. Now, what I believe right now should happen is she should be immediately banned from re-entry, but she won't, because conservatives never play hardball with the left. Again, I'm reminded of Jane Fonda sitting on an anti-aircraft gun in North Vietnam saying, "I wish I had one of those American devils in my sights." Why Jane Fonda has never been tried for treason, I do not know. She is giving aid and comfort to the enemy of the United States in time of war, just as this young lady was. Now, I actually kind of like it when the left does things like this, because I do think it impacts the midterms. All right. Most Americans don't want to hear death to America from a Democrat. All right. And the Democrat leadership has got to know that this anti-American rhetoric, the continuous denunciations of capitalism and calls for revolution will not resonate with the average voter that honestly just wants to live their life in peace. All right. I believe that the average American treats the government like a hornet's nest. As long as they don't try and sting us, we will stay away from them. All right. I killed a hornet's nest yesterday, by the way. Just saying. Now, Democrats, all right, believe that socialism is going to give them gains. So I don't know what's going to happen in this midterm. I think you're seeing the lunacy of the left driving Americans away, and you're seeing the inaction and the inability to do anything we voted for them to do by the Republican Party kind of demoralizing us. I mean, let's look at it. The federal government continues to grow. Fraud, waste, and abuse are not stopped, even when clearly identified by DOJ. No Democrats have been held accountable for any of their crimes during the Biden regime. There's a new war in Iran, and the FBI is still playing their games, as evidenced over the weekend. All right. I challenge you to do a couple of things. I want you to go on any lefty-leaning Facebook group, and there is one here in my local area that I troll repeatedly for my own entertainment. All right. And note how quickly and how savagely and violently they attack the truth. Post anything there and watch what happens. Now, I think you're going to see the lowest voter turnout in midterm history per capita. That's what I think is going to happen. So what do you think is going to happen in the midterms, Dr. A?
I think the Dems are waking up and realizing that their party has left them, at least those who still have a brain on. And Kala Walsh, sir, is someone who Insurrection Barbie and Stealth Medical have been tracking for the past year and tie her to several of the murders of individuals at a finance building, I think in D.C. No, that was New York, and the murder of the two young people outside of the event in D.C. She's been very, very involved. Not to say she did them, but she was involved in the planning. She was present at both locations and then fled out of the country immediately after each of those events. She was also she was being trained in Cuba as a teenager. So this goes way back with her. But I actually think we're going to hold on in the midterm, sir.
All right, so she's trained in Cuba by the communists, and she's just given free reign to roam freely in America. See, this is what drives me nuts. And the reason I say that is I am 100% certain that all of my communications are monitored at all times by the terrorist group known as the FBI. And yet this woman goes to our enemy countries and just moves back and forth inside the corridors of power. She is, as you just said, possibly linked to a couple of homicides. She's overseas chanting death to America. What do we need to lock this woman up? I mean, it's unreal. All right, go ahead, Rox. What are your thoughts on the midterms?
I know historically that we usually lose them, but I'm kind of in agreement with everybody that it is so obvious and getting more obvious by the day that we are taking, or, you know, the Communist Party itself has taken over the Democratic Party, and you're starting to see the infighting between them, that you can't support it. I think it'll make more people wake up. I know a lot of people waking up going, what the hell is actually happening here? And we're like, over here, we told you so. If you didn't see it, this is literally the Marxist playbook. It's been happening and unfolding before your eyes for like over 50 years now, and it is beyond a reasonable doubt, in my opinion. And I think people are going to see that and see how much those policies are failing. And even New York City, I'm sorry, like all these promises are already showing like it's not going to happen. It's all talk and no game. You keep wanting to vote for that, go ahead, but your cities will fall, and so will all of your party. And you could tell. And Fetterman is the only one that, you know, maybe you got to have a stroke to have common sense in the Democratic Party. I don't know. I'm not wishing that. I'm just saying.
That's well said. All right, I don't see any other hands there, but you know, again, I hope for the best for the midterms, but we'll definitely see how it goes. I just don't know. I just don't know. We who knows? All right, I want to talk about, again, and I told you, there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. I'm ignoring the Iran war until something significant happens in it. So I'm going to continue to do that. So Lego announced that they're celebrating Pride Month again. Now, in Satan's continuing war on our children, Lego said, Pride moments are built brick by brick. Swipe to see more of our Lego colleagues' stories. Now, I don't have a problem as a consenting adult. You can do whatever you want to do. I've got a problem with this indoctrination of our children. All right, let them make up their own mind. Let their parents teach them their morals and values. And then if they choose to do something else, it is a free country made and kept so by people like Rox. So again, this is the stuff that drives me nuts, is when you put this agenda into children's Legos. All right, I can't take it anymore. All right, so the accompanying slideshow to their Pride moments are built brick by brick, all right, showed many figures recreating the coming out experiences, including one character attending a pride parade and another depicting a male character proposing to his boyfriend. Lego is now openly pushing pride parades, gay marriage, and rainbow ideology straight at children, according to one commentator on X. This isn't inclusion. It's sexualizing childhood and grooming the next generation with adult themes. Quick question for you, Dr. A. Did you even know in elementary school, I want you to think back, the first name of any of your teachers?
No,
I didn't either.
we weren't told what they were.
No, exactly. What about you, Rox?
No, I don't think so. And if it is, I saw it like on a piece of paper or something that you hand off to your mom with your report card, but never did we weren't allowed to ever call them by their first name.
I
That
mean,
wasn't a thing.
even through high school, I only can tell you like a couple of first names of teachers, and that was because one of them I learned later was a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserves, my chemistry teacher. All right, Jerry Norris. But I could not tell you, I don't think anybody else's name. Go ahead, Dr. A.
One high school teacher, sir, because he also was a teacher for my parents and my aunt, and they had a running joke about him. Okie dokie, Dick Dokie. His name was Richard Dokie, but he went by Dick Dokie.
Got it. I told somebody to consume a satchel of Richards over the weekend. But anyway, that's a different matter, I think. All right, so now the company also promoted a Pride Month activity on its official website on June 1st. It's time to paint the town red, orange, yellow, green, basically a whole rainbow of color. Somebody told me the other day, and again, I know it's Roy G. Biv, so that's what, 7 colors in the normal rainbow. How many are there on the pride flag? I don't even know, but somebody told me it was less than a normal rainbow, so they didn't even get that right. So, but anyway, it says that's right, it's Pride Month, and we're celebrating the best way we know how with Lego bricks. So, again, when is this going to stop for good? What's this obsession with destroying the innocence of children? Now, this does have an effect. You can't say that it doesn't, because federal sentencing for sexual abuse offenses related to children rose 33% since FY 2021. This is corroding our society and blurring a line, and I believe it's intentional by those people that actually, for whatever reason, are attracted to children, and it's got to stop. So I'm telling you right now, I would not be buying Lego bricks at all. I don't care what any adult does. I just don't want children exposed to this. Go ahead, Ultra.
Okay, I was just going to chime in on just a couple of points because, as
Yes,
you know,
sir.
I'm very, very well educated on this thing.
Yes,
so
sir.
actually, to answer your question, so the rainbow flag origin actually comes from Dorothy Gale. Back before gay men actually called themselves gay, because we really didn't actually have a word for it. We used the code "Are you a friend of Dorothy?" Because Judy Garland.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because Judy Garland was a gay icon. So the rainbow flag came from the song "Somewhere Over the Rainbow." There were originally 7 colors when it was developed in 1978, but the colors were way too expensive, the fabric, so they cut it down to the 6 colors
Okay.
of the pride flag. But this whole thing about the indoctrination of children, I mean, it goes very deep, folks. They are attacking children in any way, shape, or form that you can think of. You know, they are sitting here beating into the heads of black and brown kids. White people hate you, and you can never
Yes.
get a leg up in society unless we give you a hand. Conversely, they're teaching white children, oh, you are the evil oppressors of this world, and you should feel guilty about your everything, your very existence. You were born with the original sin of it. So any way they can attack your children. The rainbow flag is just yet another aspect of this thing to destroy children. It's not even so much, Larry, going after the innocence. It is the indoctrination, because
Yes,
if
sir.
you look, all of this is a Marxist totalitarian takeover that has been, the seeds were actually sown post World War II, and they have been festering and trying to get themselves into any organization that they can, anytime they could, since the end of the 40s. This is just one more aspect, because if you look at it, every Marxist totalitarian takeover has gone for the children. Hitler, yes, Nazis,
Yep.
they were a Marxist. Nazi is short for National Socialist, and Hitler had Hitler's Youth. Stalin had Stalin's children. Mao Zedong had the Red Army. So they are trying to indoctrinate these children so they never question, so they pick and peck at each other, so they will turn mom, dad, and grandma and all wrong thinkers in. That is the end all goal, and whatever aspect they can to go after the children, they will. So this rainbow pride flag, which I have an extra specialization in, considering everything, is just one more aspect.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate that. I did not know a few of those things, and again, there are many things that you said are so true. The Marxist goal in every society, and honestly every totalitarian society, is to destroy the family unit and then to take over the children and to work on them. And so, that's exactly what we're seeing in this regard. Go ahead, Buckster.
Hey, Colonel, how you doing? Good to see you, Rocks, Dr. Angela. Yeah, real quick on this, what they've been doing to the children and what they continue to do to the children is definitely something that needs to be 100% stopped. I agree with everything that Ultra said and what everybody else has said, but there's one key important point here. This stuff had started 20 years ago, okay? I raised my two sons by myself. My two boys, it was my responsibility to educate them properly, to teach them to be patriotic, to teach them to love the country, and to teach them to love their neighbor and everybody else, but not fall for this crap, because they started doing it then. There were rainbow flags, LGBTQ, before they added the rest of the alphabet, and they started putting this stuff in schools, and they would come home and we would sit down and we would talk about it, and I would educate them on it, and I would tell them, it's not that I'm asking you or telling you that you should hate somebody. I'm telling you that you do not let somebody dictate to you what your beliefs are, what you know to be right. And I think that's one of the biggest things today is we as parents, grandparents, uncles, brothers, cousins, we need to sit down with these families, even those families that people in that family that may support some of this stuff, and educate them, talk to them, help change their minds. Change one mind at a time, because we're up against social media, we're up against what they're doing in the schools, and we're up against what all these corporations are doing. Banking is the most woke industry in the world, and most people don't pay attention to it. It's everywhere. So we, as a society, have to take this back. We can't depend on the schools, we can't depend on the government, and we can't depend on the media. We have to take it back, just like we do each election. We cannot let the Democrats, we cannot let the socialists and the communists and these groomers win. And that's how we do it. One person, one heart, one mind at a time. And it starts with your own children and your own family. Thank you.
Totally agree with you. That's just the way it's got to be. And they're still going to make up their own minds. I've kind of become convinced, that you can basically teach a kid till they're about 13, and then you're just making minor course corrections on that. So I think that's why they're trying to get them so young with their indoctrination. All right, I've posted Rox is going to post a picture, all right, and it is a compilation of the two photos of people being on buses. One is, the Patriot Front group, which we'll talk about in just a second, with an African-American woman sitting on the subway in D.C., and the other one, of course, is the Charlotte bus, where I believe her name is Irina. I can't remember her last name right now, was brutally murdered by that homicidal man. So, again, what we're seeing is the left is triggered by the photo on the bottom and not by the photo on the top. But what I want to talk about is what I call federal front. All right. I just don't know how to say this right now. And I was looking for what the logical fallacy is, but because there are questions that are not being asked, I believe that's, this is a federal group. All right, but I'm going to go through a few things that make me think that. But my primary thing is I don't see any Democrats calling for investigations into it. I don't see the FBI trying to round it up. I don't see anything that they would have done to a January 6th group or that they would do to a true right-wing organization. Now, Here's some history that I've kind of compiled from X because there's not a lot of information that I actually trust on this. Now, the good news is Data Republican has said she's going to start digging. And when she starts digging, we will definitely find it. I'll come back to you, Ultra, after let me go through a few of my talking points. So historically, Patriot Front was the usual right-wing hillbillies, for lack of a better term, all right, that were racist, and they were kind of centered south of the Mason-Dixon line, or as we used to call it, the common sense line. I say that jokingly. Now, then the group became infiltrated by the feds, according to this guy. New chapters were formed, and the new chapters had basically no contact with the original leadership. Then the marches started occurring during the illegitimate and criminal Biden regime. All right, the Louisiana State Anti-Terrorist Task Force investigated the Washington, D.C. march, which I found curious, as a potential local threat, again, overreach. And they concluded that the group was composed almost entirely of federal law enforcement officer cadets. All right, in those days, the uniforms were not merely similar, they were identical and contained numerous items identifiable as federal Leo standard, i.e. 511 cargo pants or whatever you call them. All right, I have a pair on right now. All right, also that investigation, all right, led to the fact that the trucks that Patriot Front had arrived in, all right, had to be replaced quickly as they were stolen while they were parked, and the BOLO listed the renter as the FBI. Now, a Louisiana senior law enforcement informant says that they are no longer using FBI cadets for these exercises because they want to preserve plausible deniability. Instead, they are using park ranger cadets, wildlife cadets, and especially sworn IRS cadets. Now, after several marches in the original form, Patriot Front morphed again, and the uniforms became more non-uniform. Still look pretty uniform to me. The first march in this new non-uniform was apparently in Western Maryland. All right. And the place they picked, there happened to be a police unit there, all right, to watch them on their way to march. They were using a public park for a staging area, all right, and many of them were videoed and photographed at this location. Remember the rental truck? All right, the occupants of the rental truck were detained, and all but one of them were unmasked, arrested, and brought to trial. The list of the indicted, all right, matched the original Patriot Front membership list, and they are on the SPLC's hate watch list, all right? Now, they don't say whether or not they're paying them. But if they're on that list, how many people were they paying on that list? We don't know. Now, after this, the trend with similar but not identical uniforms has continued. The marching became sloppier. All right, some marchers showed their faces, and they tended to occur just after crisis happened. All right. So I call this the SPLC phase. Again, I'm borrowing heavily from a guy on X. All right. Now, is the Patriot Front still under deep state supervision? I don't know. I suspect they are. And if they're not under deep state supervision, I guarantee you that people in their leadership team are compromised by the FBI. I've met him. I like him. Enrico Terrio is a nice guy, but in the early 2010s, he was an FBI informant. Okay? That's just what they do. Every right-wing organization, every single one of them that exists in the United States is probably at least 30% funded by the U.S. government. Probably at least 30% of the members are either informants or actual FBI agents. I do not believe that we still have a white supremacy issue. Now, what's funny about that is the white supremacy term that the media uses over and over again has increased over 5,000% from 2009 through 2020. So again, maybe I'm just delusional because I lived in the military where the only color I saw was Air Force blue or Army green or Marine khaki or Navy blue. You get what I'm saying, all right? That's the only color that we recognize in the military. So maybe I'm being delusional, but I don't see it anymore the way they see it. Now, how do I think they fund them? I don't know. But I know this, Data Republican will find out. And I also can tell you, if they really wanted to, they would be digging into these people and they would be figuring this out. I find it reprehensible that on our 250th birthday, they marched and that became the story, which overall, in my opinion, is what the goal of the left was. Instead of turning it into a unifying event for all Americans, they get to turn it into, look how evil the white man is. I'm just so sick of it. I'm sick of the left. I'm sick of their games, and something needs to be done to stop them. All right, so my question there is, and you guys are probably along the same lines as us, is there any more evidence you have on Patriot Front? Because I don't think they're organic at all. I don't think I've seen anything as astroturfed as this, and I don't know when or what it's going to take to actually expose them. Again, I am a fan of Occam's razor, and if they're really using federal agents, why hasn't somebody come forward? So it doesn't make, again, there's just too many things about this that don't make sense to me, but I do not believe there are that many people that would really believe that archaic ideology. But then again, there's 1.4 billion Muslims that believe in archaic ideology, so who knows? All right, Gerpanda Rocks, go ahead. What are your thoughts on this?
I don't know, kind of. I posted a couple in the pill and one up top. I totally agree with you about a lot of things. Someone mentioned probably see if they're funded by the Southern Poverty Law Center. On top of it, you never know.
So the
Maybe
names,
that's where they're funding.
Yeah, the names that were mentioned in the indictment, I actually tried to find out whether or not they were funded by the SPLC, and they were not. I don't have a lot of other names, and I don't know how the SPLC actually funded. I mean, did they write a check that says KKK? I doubt that. There had to be pass-throughs, etc. Again, you can find ways to hide and funnel money. I mean, I watched my opponent do it during the campaign at a scale hitherto unimagined by me. So, I don't know how to find it, but Rox, what else? I mean, what do you think it's going to take to break this? Like, why aren't people going up and ripping their masks off and then using facial recognition on these things? Why?
Oh, wait.
Go ahead.
They only do that if you're Democrats, ripping Republicans.
Yes.
Face mask off. If you're a Democrat under Democratic disguise, then it's fine, and you should wear one, even in the grocery store. That's fine. We don't rip your mask off then. Only if you're a Republican. So yeah, clearly they're on the Democratic side. They're not supremacists.
Now, I do have a question. Dr. A, you may know the answer to this and you may not. Obviously, last week, the Supreme Court ruled that just geofencing cell phones by the government without a warrant is not allowed. But I thought that geofencing data was privately available for purchase. And the reason I bring that up is somebody somewhere has surely got to be curious who all these clowns were. And I guarantee you they had cell phones in the area, and we could probably link them to it. I mean, how many times when you're walking through a grocery store now and you maybe are on your phone and the aisle you're on is what the ads are popping up on your phone? That's where we're getting to from an advertising standpoint. So if we're there, you can't tell me that I can't build I'm going to call it 100-yard by 100-yard wide square around these guys and be able to tell what each cell phone number is. So it's got to be there. I just don't know if the data is commercially available. Go ahead, Ultra. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dr. A, then Ultra.
So I'll just say, from a retail perspective, I agree with you, because even from a campaign perspective, some of the apps that are available to candidates, when you're in a particular area, you can blast out specific messages in that area.
Yes, ma'am.
But it does not tell you who is there. You don't know who it's being sent to or who the recipient is. Like, it doesn't give you their personal information. So yes, it's sort of kind of already available.
Okay, I guarantee you that there is an app or something that collects that data. And the reason I know that is there is a data set that I'm looking to purchase of a particular voter segment inside House District 106. So I'm going to ask this question: how did they get the data? Go ahead, Ultra. Ultra, go ahead, sir.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
composing a tweet, and actually, I can actually kind of tie what the opening of this was to what we were talking about prior with the LGBTQ bullshit, and to this actually.
Right.
But before I get there, I just want to sit here and say that it wouldn't surprise me if the Southern Poverty Law Center is signing in the memo for the clam bake, and it's spelled with a K, and they quite clearly turned an N into an M at the end for the clam bake. But going back to the original part of this conversation about civil war and how many of us would participate,
Right.
and other things like that. If you look at demographics, about 11% of the country is in the extreme towards the left. That is why we're talking about Antifa and other groups. And it's also very important to start distinguishing what's a classical liberal, what is a progressive, what is a democratic socialist, and what is a communist revolutionary. They are four very different things, but that's another conversation for another time. Meanwhile, the converse on the right, about 8% of the country is extreme on the right. Here we're talking about the actual real Klan. And I think that there's only about 400,000 Ku Klux Klan members in the country. So, there are our extremes in this country. We have about 90% of the entire population that is absolutely irredeemably retarded in terms of these people we can't with them. Everybody, we at the right look at our 8%, and the left, they're trying to pretend like their 11% doesn't exist, or sort of, shoo them away. So now back to just a piece about what we were talking about prior about the LGBTQAI and everything. Larry, an important aspect that people often look over is look at when we see these people, these LGBTQ mafia leftists get together. There's always somebody with a microphone shouting the chant, and they're all saying it, and, their sort of eyes are glazed over. They don't believe what they're saying. Like, trans women are women, and everyone goes, women. It's kind of like a church. Not everybody speaks Latin, and they just kind of mouth along with what the priest is saying, trying to make their sounds rhyme with Latin. That's what these people are doing. But to get to children, the idea, and Buck really reminded me of this, or you did it, Larry, I forget which one, who said, you pretty much are a concrete human being at 13, and everything after that is course correction. That's why they're trying to get to the kids, because the idea of what is a man and what is a woman, what is a male, what is a female, solidifies around 8 years old. That is why they keep pushing younger and younger and younger to try and get to kindergartners, because little kids only see it as, they understand, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina, they think mostly what determines us is actually the clothes. Do you wear bows? Do you wear skirts? Do you wear shorts? Do you wear jeans? Kids don't have that solidified idea yet within their head. So that's why this leftism tries to keep getting at them. And furthermore, here's a very important aspect tying back to what I had mentioned earlier. All these white kids, and I'm saying white kids like 20s and under, are desperate to escape the category of white oppressor. They want to somehow not be white people. And therefore, they are trying to grapple into any part of the LGBTQ they can by creating new personas, new identities, redefining what it means to be trans. Prior to last decade, being trans meant you were a man trying to become a woman, or a woman trying to become a man, not actually become the opposite sex, but present as the opposite sex using surgeries and hormones. But now we have all these stupid genders like non-binary, moon gender, yada, yada, yada. And queer is a philosophy that is actually mostly heterosexual. It was born out of feminism and gender studies in the 90s. And these kids are attaching onto these terms and labels because now they are no longer part of the oppressor class. In fact, they jump straight up to the top of the oppressed class by becoming trans or non-binary or some form of something. That is why these kids are jumping to it. That is why the numbers of the LGBTQ are now unnaturally high in only the Western world. For example, the United States of America has 40 times more possible trans people than the world's total possible trans people.
Wow.
Just the United States alone. England and the rest of Europe are all following suit. Canada and Australia all following suit. This phenomenon is only happening in the Western world. Now, while we're still on that subject and sort of transitioning, well, if you want to look at white supremacy, because that's when the left always wants to turn the camera. Is that a straight white male? And furthermore, he has to be one of any of the following: MAGA, conservative, Christian. If it's just normal, everyday leftist white male, the camera doesn't turn that way. But the very unfortunate fact for the left is when looking at LGBTQ hate crimes, this is painful for them. 41 to 43% of all hate crimes against gay and lesbian people are perpetuated by black people. Now, the white people commit 51%. However, there is a caveat. Mostly Latinos are classified as white. When you start doing that division, 30% of the hate crimes are committed by non-white, Hispanic, Latino people, meaning that white people are doing 21 to 22% of attacks and hate crimes against white people, leaving the remaining 5 to 8% for every other race within this country.
Got it.
Same thing when it comes to trans. 98% are done against trans people by black people. So this whole white supremacy thing does not hold up.
No, you're absolutely right. And I don't see where, why would anybody march for this? What are you doing? We are better off as a country when we are all working and pulling in the same direction. So I'm not buying it, and I cannot wait for the proof to actually come out. All right, now speaking of not buying things, my co-host Dr. A texted me last night, and she said even Californians aren't buying the communism. So what did you mean by that?
Well, some of you may have heard, but Spencer Pratt put out the best 4th of July conversation, pro-America and anti-commie, that I have ever heard. I wanted to share it with you all and see that all Californians aren't as cray-cray as you think. Even Hollywood has more cojones than a great part of America. And Mom, I do want to apologize. Spencer gets very emotional and uses one bad word. So heads up.
We all had to sit and watch that vile commie mayor sit on the wrong side of our founding fathers' desk to try and lecture us about our own history. Notice how the communist always attacks your history. The communist must attack your history. Why? Because history is what anchors you. It's what makes us attached to something. Nostalgia is a hell of a drug. History breeds an almost irrational attachment to things, an attachment that is more powerful than anyone can imagine. Erasing history is how you demoralize people, how you unmoor them and detach them from their society so you can take it from them and rewrite it in your image. Think of your country like a home. What makes your home special? It's not the marble countertops or the expensive furniture or the fancy appliances. It's the memories you have there. That backyard is where we got married. That living room rug is where our son took his first step. Hey, don't touch that. That was his first teddy bear. It doesn't matter how torn and tattered that thing is. You will never get rid of it. And you will fight anyone who tries to take it away. Why? Because you have history with it. You ever buy a new home? Remember those first few months? Even the first few years there, it doesn't feel like home. It could be a million times nicer than the crappy apartment you came from, but it doesn't feel like home for a long time because you don't have history there. It's easy to knock down some walls, change the floor plan. If you have no memories to attach you to it, it's just wood and drywall. Who cares? Get rid of it. Memories make it a home, even the bad ones. Hey, remember when Dad hit his head on the rafter in the attic and we spent all night in the ER? That's the avocado tree I fell out of and broke my first bone. Isn't it weird how even the bad memories make us cherish a place? It's not like we long for those bad times, but bad times are part of what makes us stronger, a part of what makes us who we are. How can you resent those memories without fundamentally resenting who you are? History is so important to humans that even bad memories anchor us to our home. And that's what the communist always starts with, the bad memories. Oh, we can get rid of that little story. We can knock down that statue. We can change the name of that street. That's a bad memory from our history. You don't want that memory hanging around. You're not a bigot, right? And slowly but surely, this wall comes down. Then that wall gets sledgehammered. The rafter where dad hit his head, that's gone. The rub where your son took his first step, that's gone. The gas in the wood floor where you stomped the glass on your wedding ceremony, that's gone and replaced with shiny vinyl planks. And now you've got a brand new home with no memories. Now what? Do you care what they do with it? Do you care what color they paint the walls? Nah. Do whatever you want. I don't care. I have no attachment to it. I have no memories with that. You love your home because of the memories you have there. And that's why the communist always must destroy your memories, destroy your history. If the communist wishes to take your home, he must first destroy your memory of it so he can erase your attachment to it and demoralize you. Mao destroyed what he called the four olds, old ideas, old culture, old customs, and old habits. You call them old, it makes them sound bad. You don't want that old thing. Get rid of it. But it is fundamentally human nature to cherish your history. We crave learning about our history, where we came from, who our ancestors were. That's human. But communism is an evil, anti-human religion, so it must destroy what makes us human. The communist destroys your history so he can take your home and rebuild it in his image. That's why it's your patriotic duty to celebrate today unashamed. It's okay to love America. Not only is it okay to love America, it's necessary to love America. We are the only bulwark against tyranny on this earth. When Europe descends into madness time and time again, it's our sons who cross the oceans to fight and die for freedom and human dignity. We don't let evil people destroy our history and rewrite it in their image. This is Independence Day. It's not just a number on the calendar. Don't say Happy 4th. That's commie gobbledygook.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
We say Independence Day. Today we celebrate the men who reclaimed a beautiful slice of this earth and claimed it for God, for the values of freedom and rugged independence. Our history is messy. Our history is violent. Fuck yeah, it is. And that's why we love it. We aren't cowards. We don't turn our backs on the painful memories because they make us who we are. Be proud of our country, damn it. America is the birthplace of every great invention of the last 250 years. Like literally everything. Airplanes, spaceships, internet, telephones. As a country, we are batting 1,000. Not only is it a miracle that this radical experiment in self-governance even survived past 1776, but we are the champions of the world. Be proud of that. Be proud of your history. Millions of your ancestors fought and died to preserve it. Kami Mamdani's ancestors never bled for this country. He has no history here, so he has no attachment to our home. He has no place to rewrite our history and lecture us about what our country stands for. So celebrate today. Show some American pride. Honor your history. Raise your flag. Raise a finger and say, fuck you, communists. This is our home, and you can't have it. Today we celebrate our Independence Day. God bless America.
All right, Dr. A. That was a heck of a rant there.
Yes, sir. We do it well in California. Sorry, Mom.
All right, so the question then is, if he sees this, now what's the final tally on the election? I take it he's completely out and done? Because, you know, California, I never know when your elections are actually over.
Well, technically, it hasn't been certified yet, sir.
All right, so where's he at? How much did he lose by?
Last I checked, it was like 10,000 votes.
Okay, so we have a communist, and I mean that literally, who was trained in Cuba. Gee, that seems to be a theme for the show. As mayor of Los Angeles, and then you've got the Joker as a governor. So I mean, I kind of, you know, yeah, you can spot commie, but you're still voting them in apparently, or the communists again are voting themselves in. What is it? I think one of Stalin's quote is, "It's not the voter that counts; it's who's counting the votes." So. Again, if that's not a quote.
For over 30 years, California elections have not been free and fair. So whatever they turn out to be, it's what they wanted them to be until or unless we can secure a free and fair process.
Now, again, I've just got to ask, why can't Republicans do something as simple as passing the SAVE Act? And yes, I know John Thune's wife and daughter are Democrats. I know all this. I'm just basically, that was, I guess, a rhetorical question. You know, they can't do it because they don't want to do it, because the Uniparty does nothing but take care of itself. They don't care about us, which is why I've got to ask, why even vote? I mean, it doesn't matter. We wind up with higher taxes. We wind up with a lower standard of living. We wind up with more social problems. You know, what is the point when the Republicans, the good guys, don't do what we tell them to do? You know,
Remember that fist, sir, Trump in the air, fight, fight, fight?
Yeah.
Even in California, we're trying, sir. We're trying.
I know that. And I'm saying that, but I mean, there are days where I despair. I watched somebody on our state Republican executive committee walk around at a party this weekend and say, I run this Senate district. No, if you are a leader, you are supposed to serve the Senate district. That's what elected office is. It bothers me a lot that we don't have people that actually care to fix problems. I don't see it. I don't see it anywhere. I don't see it at the local level. I don't see it at the state level. And I certainly don't see it at the national level. Trump cannot do it by himself until we render him an American Caesar, which he is not. So as much as the left likes to say he's a dictator, he's never done anything that's dictatorial, which drives me slightly crazy as well, because I was hoping for just a little tinge of it for retribution against the FBI and the other terrorist agencies that hounded J6ers. Speaking of, a J6er took his life last month, and we're just now hearing about it, and it's going to continue. There's no let up from it. I mean, this guy, I think he had applied for a job, got the job, HR did a little bit more digging, fired. You know, some of these guys have no job prospects because of the lies that are told about him. It's the same lies over and over again about me. You just can't get through any HR. I am so thankful that I had my own company doing something, you know, prior to all of this nonsense. You know, I don't think I'll ever fly an airplane again because I can't get through an HR process with anyone. That's just life. When I say fly an airplane, I mean for money again. All right. We're just gonna rifle through. You know, I want to finish this topic so that it's not the hanging Chad from the last thing. You know, we were talking about Agenda 47. So rebuild cities, Washington D.C., make them safe, beautiful, and clean. He's trying, and they're complaining about that, saying we like the green. We like the green reflecting pool. So I give, his rating there was 52 out of 100. I said I thought he was doing a pretty good job. There, Dr. A, you said it was a bold goal. All blue governors and mayors will resist. Washington, D.C. does look cleaner and safer, but it's only one city. Strengthen and modernize the military. Rocks, I heard earlier Dr. A told us about the Golden Dome thing. Have you heard about, any increased funding, really? I mean, I knew that they spent $1 trillion. Where it's going, I don't know, but my belief is that Palantir and AI are reshaping the military, that Hegseth and his emphasis on warrior culture is filling the recruitment pool. So I think, he's doing a pretty good job there. I give him a solid, I think I said, I actually didn't put a number on that, but AI gave him 82 out of 100, and Dr. A, you agreed with that. Rox, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I actually saw something a couple days ago actually showing the recruitment numbers across all branches are through the roof. And for the most part, it's because Hegseth has brought back the warrior ethos instead of the kumbaya. Because I'm telling you, there is a thing for real, with death by PowerPoint and training over something. Now, it's good to a certain extent for some things, but not everything. Like, even can you ask if they've had a sex change and when is it official and whenever it's officially on their records kind of stuff. That stuff had to go. That was a big problem I saw, and even the last few years, it was eroding morale. But the fact that you couldn't even get close to meeting your goal numbers for the military under Biden every single year, and now we're not even we're about halfway through the year, and they have surpassed their recruitment goals, and they're still coming in. That's amazing. And yeah, because people join the military to do something, the benefits, and to do something and to fight for their country, not hold hands and put, rainbow flag. I mean, we do it facetiously sometimes, because I had like a multicam rainbow, like for unicorns in EOD, because we're special. But it wasn't like, the entire rainbow. It was multicam still. But we were, that kind of stuff, and having fun and not being in fear of hurting people's feelings just because you say the wrong thing or you don't know their pronouns. Like, that stuff is out the window. This is what it is. You're a male or female, black and white, and you're going to train to be a warrior no matter who you are. And whatever job you perform, they're all needed. They're all important. And no more of this wasting people's time. Like, we've got to get down to being the best warfighters in the world, which we are. And we have to continue on that path and surpass it, because technology is, it's going out through the roof. If you can't catch up, what good are you? We're not here for holding hands. We're here for fighting and winning wars and protecting our country.
I'm with you. All right, we're going to skip a few of them. But the last two, I'll just go over real quick. Secure elections, voter ID, paper ballots, proof of citizenship, same-day voting. And again, this was a pre-campaign promise to the American people. Hasn't been done. And it hasn't been done because the rhinos in the Senate won't let it be. So I give them an F on this one, a 55. The rating that AI gave him was 72. Dr. A, you said Trump is trying, but it's not getting the support of the Senate. You gave him an F as well. And the last one is uniting the country through success. Now, we did have economic and security gains in some areas, but polarization is getting worse. It is persisting across political, cultural, and social lines. I think we're more divided than ever. Grok gave him a 45 out of 100 on this. I thought it was a good number. Dr. A, you agreed with me on that. For those of us that are dinosaurs and roamed the earth in the Cretaceous period, the whole country celebrated the bicentennial. I mean, we had bicentennial quarters. The advertisement was everywhere. Red, white, and blue was everywhere. And I didn't see hardly anything for the 250th birthday. It's actually kind of disturbing, and I don't know where we're going. I don't think, unless we get back to building a culture of patriotism and a true history, which Ultra pointed out, rather than a manufactured history for political gain of this nation, I don't think we can unite again. So I'm going to close with two quotes, all right? One from Pete Buttigieg. It says, "The force that has come closest across American history to actually ending America was white supremacy." That was the Civil War. Now, there is a Pulitzer Prize winning book called The Battle Cry of Freedom that argues that the Civil War was really about economics, like most other wars throughout all of history, but I'll leave it alone. I can't even with him. We have made great strides, and nowhere else in the world is there as little racism as there is in the United States. All right, the last quote was by Lincoln. "In great contest, each party claims to act in accordance with the will of God. Both may be, and one must be wrong, for God cannot be for and against the same thing at the same time." So we shall see who wins. All right. I don't know what's going on. I will tell you that in the end, though, I think we're going to suffer a near-term loss in the midterms, but that will lead to 2028 victory, which is probably more important because we can never again let the communists have the power of the executive branch, or it will be the death of freedom in the United States. That's it for the day. On that pessimistic note, I'm going to tell you that I hope you had a great 4th of July weekend. I hope you have a great week with your families. We will work on the formatics of this show because our audience wasn't where I wanted it to be today. And I thank all of you for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please share with it and come back next week at high noon Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. Let me know when